What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome back to another episode of the NBA Talk podcast for the week of February the 27th, 2017, all the way to March the 5th, 2017. I'm your host, Hani, and for those of you who do not know about what we do here on NBA Talk, we are a basketball channel. We provide content about basketball every week. We have a weekly podcast called the NBA Talk podcast, which is what you're on right now. We talk about the latest news stories. We also have other videos such as, basketball what-ifs, basketball scenarios, things like that. So if you're interested in all things basketball, definitely hit that subscribe button. Anyways, on this episode of the podcast, we're going to be talking about, not a lot of news. We don't really have a lot of things to talk about, but we do have some big stories that have some, sort of big impact in the league right now. So the first story we got right now is the Cavs officially signed Andrew Bogut, Deron Williams, and Derek Williams. So I'll talk about the implications of what these moves are, how good are they for the Cavs, what does it do for the landscape of the NBA, and etc. That's probably our main story. We're also going to be talking about how Kevin Durrant suffers an MCL sprain and how he's out indefinitely. So I'll be talking about what the Warriors' playoff chances look now with Durant out, what's going to happen with the lineups and, how the whole situation in Golden State is going to go down. We're also going to be talking about how Shaquille O'Neal is having his feud with JaVale McGee and how it is concluded in a very weird way. I mean, this would be probably the weirdest story we have of the podcast. And finally, we'll be rounding it out with the Wizards and how they officially signed Brandon Jennings. So, without any further ado, let's get started. So the Cleveland Cavaliers made it official on Thursday, signing Andrew Bogut for the remainder of the season. Bogut was waived by the Sixers on Monday after he was acquired by Philadelphia just prior to last week's trade deadline. The 7-foot big man appeared in 26 games for Dallas this season, averaging 3 points, 8.3 rebounds, 1.9 assists, and a block a game on 46.9% shooting. Bogut will give the Cavaliers some added playoff experience, having reached the finals in each of the last 2 years with the Golden State Warriors. Cleveland has been active on the free agent market this week, signing veteran point guard Deron Williams to a deal on Monday. The Cavaliers waived second-year player Jordan McRae earlier this week in order to make room for the Australian center. Okay, so basically, as expected, the Cavaliers have finally answered LeBron's prayers and have signed the playmaker he wanted and obtained the roster depth that LeBron has asked for. And those come in the form of Deron Williams, Derek Williams, and Andrew Bogut. Now, this is a good and a bad thing for, this whole scenario. The good thing is that this is a great news for the Cavs as they finally can answer their issue, which was about the depth of their team. Now, with the injuries to Kevin Love and J.R. Smith and other players, Cleveland's bench has been looking very thin as they haven't had a lot of people to play in order to give LeBron and Kyrie some much-needed rest, which is a problem because LeBron needs all the rest he can get so he can be in peak condition for when he actually starts going full-on in the playoffs. So now they have finally obtained that. So we're going to break down each player here. So we're going to start off with Deron Williams. Deron Williams, with the acquisition of Deron Williams, the Cavaliers have now acquired a solid pick-and-roll point guard. I mean, Deron Williams literally is arguably now one of the best backups in the NBA. He does exactly what LeBron really needs his playmaker to do. And that's just lead the offense, control the pace, control the game, until LeBron comes back in. And Deron Williams, I think he'll fit into that role fantastically because, first of all, he's at an old age, so it won't be a lot of work for Deron Williams. I think that it will be a light load. All he has to do is manage the game, which he can do. Second of all, he doesn't have to, control a lot on offense. He doesn't have to do much on offensively. And then, third of all, he's playing with LeBron James. I mean, LeBron makes everybody better on his team. So it's a great move for the Cavs acquiring Deron Williams, as he has the skills and he has the background to be one of the best point guards in the NBA. Along with that, Deron Williams also brings the veteran presence that, a lot of guys in the league really don't have right now. Darrell Williams has been in the league for a long time. He's seen the ups, he's seen the downs, so he knows how to work things around. And I think being on a contender, you need that kind of veteran leadership. And I think Williams brings that to the table. And I think the Cavaliers just got an overall great package. They got probably the best value. This is exactly who LeBron wanted, and they got it for him, man. And I think this was a great pickup for the Cavs. Now, with Derek Williams, this was kind of a surprise addition for the Cavaliers, as they never really expected this guy to be much. They signed him to a 10-day contract for depth, for depth issues, and they were like, okay, let's take a flyer on him. Derek Williams was waived by Miami to sign, I think, it was like one of their centers. But yeah, he was waived by Miami, and he's decided to sign on with Cleveland for a 10-day contract. And he impressed, like being a spark plug off the bench, just being a force, coming off the bench, which allows LeBron to get a little bit more rest. And the Cavs appreciated that, and they signed him on for the rest of the season. And I think he'll really help the Cavs, give them a little bit more of a boost off their bench, especially with guys like JR out. I think he's sort of filling that void that JR sort of left, being out of the lineup. I think Derek Williams fills that in because he can bring the necessary offense. He's a big, rugged guy. He can be great defensively. And, he can just be an overall solid player for you, while you still have a bunch of injuries and maybe even deeper in the playoffs when you need to use a lot more of your roster. So Derek Williams, again, with another great pickup. And finally, the last pickup was Andrew Bogut. Now, this is something that LeBron really never asked for, but the Cavs themselves needed. Now, the Cavs, they lost Chris Anderson because they traded him away. He was going to be their defensive anchor. Now that they lost him, they needed someone really to fill that hole because Channing Frye can't block a shot for his life. Kevin Love, defense is never his thing. So really, they never really had a rim protector. And I think Tristan Thompson isn't that. He's not a rim protector. He's a rebounder. So with Bogut, the Cavs finally get a rim protector to come off the bench or even start for the team. And, just be a solid defensive presence. And that's exactly who Bogut is. Bogut's a solid defensive presence. We've seen this in the last couple of years with Golden State, how he was able to just dictate the game sometimes just because of how physical he is, how much of a presence he is inside. Teams are really just afraid to drive and sort of, go in at him because they know that he's so good defensively that he can, block a shot, get a steal, grab the rebound. And speaking of rebounds, I really think where Bogut can really help this team is in the rebounding, as him and Tristan Thompson will be a great pairing. And now Tristan will be getting a little bit more of a lighter load, as Bogut can sort of get some of the rebounds to sort of share the load. So I think this was a great pickup for Cleveland, as they are getting the best of both worlds here. They're getting a guy in Bogut who is experienced in the NBA Finals. He is a great defender. He doesn't need much on offense. And he is a great rebounder to pair him with Tristan Thompson. I think this is a great pickup for Cleveland. Now, I mentioned there was a bad thing about these signings, and really the bad thing comes for the rest of the teams in the Eastern Conference and maybe in the NBA. And what I mean by that is with the Cavs getting better, it only just spells doom for the rest of the conference. And I'm talking specifically the Eastern Conference. Because now it's like it, even further increases the gap between Cleveland and Boston, Washington, Toronto. So it's kind of one of those sort of things where, it makes Cleveland better, but everybody else really just looks worse. But, but overall, man, Cleveland, they needed to make moves, man. They really needed to make moves. After not making a single move at the trade deadline, and watching teams like Toronto or Washington add players, they needed to really make a move. And I think Cleveland made the right moves here. I think they really made the right moves, as they, their need was to keep LeBron happy and to increase their chances of beating the Warriors. And I think with the additions of Darren Williams, Derek Williams, and Andrew Bogut, I think this will be a great sort of great additions to help even increase Cleveland's odds of beating Golden State. Just one more thought on this. This is really why I hate super teams. If you saw one of my videos where I talked about the problem with the NBA, this was one of my biggest concerns, man. Super teams. as now everybody wants to join the super teams and nobody else wants to sign with the other teams. Like, think about it this way. The Cavs didn't make a single trade, during free agency. The trade deadline. They didn't make any single trade because they didn't want to give up any assets. But the free agents, they knew the free agents were going to come to them. And who did they end up getting? They picked up Deron Williams, quality backup, Andrew Bogut, a starting caliber center, and Derek Williams, a great guy to come off your bench. Like, those are quality pickups that teams only dream of getting, especially these small market teams who can never even sniff out a marquee free agent. And I think this is really where super teams are really bad for the NBA, as now everybody else just seems to get weaker because nobody wants to play for a team that has no chance of winning. And I think this is really why I hate super teams. I really hate it. I hate it. This is such a big problem right now, as the only two teams in the NBA right now are Golden State and Cleveland. I mean, yeah, you could make a case for San Antonio and Houston and other teams, but let's be realistic here. Those two teams are not going to beat full-strength Cleveland and full-strength Golden State. I'm sorry. They just can't. I don't see it happening, and it likely will not happen. So, with that in mind, I mean, it really just ruined the NBA, and I'm still pissed off at it. I'm still legitimately pissed off at it. I don't know when this whole super team trend will ever end, but I hope it ends, man. I hope we one day have a league that's so competitive that we can never even predict the finals. That's what I want. I don't want to be able to guess the finals and get it right every time. I want to be able to be surprised. I want to be able to enjoy the suspense of an NBA season. Because right now, the NBA season is pretty boring. Like, I have to admit, right now, it's March. It's boring right now. I'd rather watch March Madness, which will be coming up soon, than watch the NBA. Because the NBA is boring. Nothing is going on right now. And all we're seeing is the super teams just getting better, stacking up for when they eventually meet in the NBA Finals. That's not fun. Like, there's literally no fun in that. So I just thought I'd mention that in right now, just with Cleveland just signing on players and just doing whatever they want. Because they're the Cavaliers. They are the favorites to go to an NBA Finals. And if you want to go to an NBA Finals as a player, you're going to join either the Cavs or the Warriors. And who can really blame them, But yeah. But overall, man, I think the Cavs really made the right moves here to really improve their chances of beating Golden State, which is their ultimate goal. They want to beat Golden State, and they made the right move, man. I feel that they got the necessary depth they needed. Now it's up to the Cavs to perform and play well and try to develop the chemistry and everything, fix everything, and get it all right for the playoffs in order that they can beat Golden State. And I think these were great moves, and I think these were necessary moves, man. But Cleveland, they're making moves. They're showing they're committed to winning, and it just further improves their chances of making a repeat as champions. So now, speaking of beating the Warriors and improving their chances at doing so, we got to talk about some bad news for the Warriors, as Kevin Durrant out indefinitely with a grade 2 MCL sprain and a tibial bone bruise. All in all, it's not the worst case scenario for the Golden State Warriors. The team announced Wednesday that Kevin Durant suffered a grade 2 MCL sprain and a tibial bone bruise. He will be reevaluated in 4 weeks, but there is no timetable of his return. Durant suffered the injury in Tuesday's loss to the Washington Wizards. His knee buckled when Zaza Pachulia fell backwards while battling for a rebound. Given the dire possibilities that could stem from a knee injury, Durant and the Warriors can be considered fortunate in this regard. He hasn't been ruled out of the season, and sprains may not necessitate surgery. There's a chance Durant could return for mid-April, sources told Adrian Wojnarowski. Stephen Curry had suffered a sprained MCL in last year's playoffs and missed 2 weeks. He wasn't 100% the rest of the way, but Curry did manage to light up the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference Finals before flaming out in the finals round. So basically, what happened in this scenario was Zaza Pachulia, and for me it's really hard to tell now, but apparently he was either shoved by Marcin Gortat or he flopped to get a call, but I can't tell anymore. He's Zaza Pachulia. I mean, you can't tell anymore what this guy does. He either flops or he doesn't flop. It's like, pick one, bro. Or make it obvious. So we, as people watching, can see, okay, yeah, that's a flop. That was legit. You can't tell anymore, man. This guy flops way too much. Another big issue with the NBA right now. You guys should really just watch that video, because that was just literally me venting out all my feelings about the NBA right now, man. Like, all my negativity, all the things that I really just don't like. I said it there in that one episode. I believe it's like 20 minutes long. So you got 20 minutes? Check that out. Link in the description if you want to see that. But yeah. So basically that's what happened. And he fell back on Durant's knee, causing it to buckle, and Durant left the game against the Wizards. And yeah. So through further diagnosis, the Warriors, concluded that Durant has suffered a grade 2 MCL sprain, not a tear or anything of that sort. It's a sprain and a tibial bone bruise. So, yeah, that's the whole scenario with Durant. Now, personally, I feel that this is a major loss for the Warriors, man. I feel that this was a big loss for the Warriors, as Durant, behind LeBron, is, in my opinion, the second best player in the world. I mean, hands down, I don't think there's anybody who can really compete with Durant as far as what he can do offensively, and now how he's evolved his game defensively, and which means that it will be really hard for the Warriors to replicate that, because Durant does so much for them offensively and defensively. Defensively, because of Durant, the Warriors are the best shot blocking team in the NBA, and Durant plays a lot on offense too. He's one of the leading scorers in the NBA for a reason. Because he's one of the best players in the world. Now, when you lose that guy, it's really hard to replicate that, especially when you got a guy like Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, guys who haven't been used to playing without Durant for the entire season, are gonna struggle a little bit. I really don't see how they can replicate that scoring production and rejuvenate that. I don't see Draymond scoring 30 a night. So yeah. And we can already see this with the Warriors' recent games. They lost, I think they lost two or three straight for the first time since 2015. That is sad. Now, Curry has been shooting abysmal during those few games, but you can already see that the Warriors are not the same without Durant's output on defense and Durant's scoring. You can clearly see how the Warriors are weakened because of the lack of what Durant does on the court and what his impact is. So, I think this is a bad thing for the Warriors right now. I really think this is a bad scenario right now. Along with that, the Warriors do not have a small forward on their roster who's capable of playing in the role that Durant had. They have nobody to start. They have Iguodala, but they like Iguodala coming off the bench, so they can't really start Iguodala. So it's like there's the double-edged sword here is that the Warriors may have gotten Durant in free agency, but they gave up a lot to get Durant. And I mentioned this so many times that they sacrificed a lot of depth to get Kevin Durant onto their roster. They gave up Barnes, Ezeli, Bogut. And now those are quality pieces who they could have, filled into this scenario. Now they really don't have that sort of next man up sort of thing where, okay, if one guy goes down, you have another guy to fill that hole. You don't have that for Golden State because you invested it all. You traded it away for a superstar. So now I think this will cost them more because now you don't have anybody. Now I know they just signed Matt Barnes, but literally, what is Matt Barnes gonna do for the Warriors? Probably nothing. Because Matt Barnes is like 36 years old. I don't think he can do anything right now. And I really just think that this team will struggle mainly because of Stephen Curry. As much as people love Stephen Curry and some people hate Stephen Curry, I'm one of those guys who's sort of in the middle with Stephen Curry. I don't love him as a player, but I don't extremely hate the guy. I mean, I don't say that he's a bad player. I just don't think he's the best player in the world. I mean, that's just me. I don't think he's one of the best point guards in the world as well. Again, just me. But I think Curry, because when Durant went down, first of all, everyone was saying, oh, this is the time Curry's going to go back to MVP form. Well, not necessarily. Curry, the way his game is structured all around his three-point shot. If he can't hit his shot, it's over. You're not getting anything from Steph Curry that night. And we've seen that for the past couple of games. Curry, when he hasn't shot well, is not a good player. And it's kind of apparent as when his shot doesn't fall, the team just falls apart because he's the leader now. He's the guy who has all that pressure on him now to succeed because he's the next guy after Durant on that team. So now with Curry, if he's not shooting well, then the team isn't doing well. And I don't think that's something that you want to rely on. You don't want to rely on a jump shot to dictate your team's success. I really don't think that's a good strategy to use. And quite honestly, this is something that I've been criticizing about Stephen Curry for a long time. That this guy, all he does is shoot threes. He doesn't do anything else. Now, I know he shows some flashes of what he can do, but he's not what you'd say a Russell Westbrook is. That he can drive and attack and he can do a lot on the basketball court. Stephen Curry can't. All he does is he can shoot, and he can shoot well for that. He's one of the best shooters that we've seen in a long time. But to rely on that, I think, is a bad thing. And I think for Curry, I think the pressure is really just getting them. I think Curry is one of those players who really just cannot perform when he has pressure on him because it's sort of a load on his shoulders that he doesn't like, and he likes having it loose and playing loose, playing light. And we saw that in the finals with Curry when the pressure was on him to beat LeBron James, he couldn't do it. And I mentioned this on Facebook, and people called me crazy for thinking that. But you have to think about it this way. Stephen Curry is no LeBron James. Stephen Curry is not a guy who can take it inside and dominate if his shot is not falling. Stephen Curry will legit shoot 20 to 30 shots if he has to hit a three-pointer to get his game going. That's Stephen Curry for you right there. But I think the problem with this team, the reason why they would struggle is because of Curry. Because Curry will not be able to handle leading this team. I don't think he will. I really just don't. I don't see how he can do it. Especially in the playoffs, man. I really just don't see it. Now, there is the best case scenario if Durant returns to the playoffs and performs well, then the Warriors have no problems. But in the worst case scenario, if Durant returns to the playoffs and is not 100%, I really just don't like their chances. I really don't like the Warriors' chances of winning because he is a big part of that team. And without him, I think it would be really difficult for the Warriors to maintain their dominance in the West. Especially when you see teams like Houston and San Antonio, how they are getting better. They're only getting better, and the Warriors are getting weaker. I think this might pose a big problem for the Warriors in the future. Maybe not now. Maybe now they're still going to finish first. Maybe they're going to lose more games. But I think where the biggest difference is going to come in is in the playoffs. And if Durant isn't 100% by the playoffs, you can just kiss the Warriors' hopes goodbye because this team is not built to win a championship right now the way it is currently constructed. I don't care if they won 73 games last year. That was a completely different team. This is a new team right now. You have to realize that. And I really just don't like their chances, man. But overall, man, I just think this is bad news for the Warriors. I think this is something that people are kind of overlooking right now as far as this whole Durant injury and what could happen. And now, because people are so caught up in saying, oh, Curry's got us. Oh, don't worry, Stephen Curry is one of the best players in the world. Sure, he's a good player, but he's not at a level where he can take the pressure and perform in the big moments. And we haven't seen that from Stephen Curry yet. So to rely on him and putting him into a pressure situation, I don't think is the right thing to do. I don't think it will be successful with Golden State. But that's just me. We can see what happens. But so far, it hasn't looked great for Golden State. And and if you're a Warriors fan, you should be really worried about your team's potential ability to get to the finals, because right now the chances aren't really looking so good. Now we're gonna move on to like the weirder part of the podcast. Shaq says he'll never speak of JaVale McGee again. It appears to be an end of an era on the inside of the NBA staple Shaq a fool, with analyst Shaquille O'Neal declaring Thursday that he'll never speak of JaVale McGee, a consistent presence on the weekly blooper reel. Again, following their Twitter beef. First of all, I never had a thing, O'Neal said to Ernie Johnson when asked about his apparent feud with Golden State Warriors big man. Second of all, we've been doing Shaq a Fool for 5 years. Everybody is on Shaq a Fool. It's one of the funniest shows in the world. You mess up, you're on it. We do it. We don't pick on people. We don't try to ruin people's careers. If I was a player and I was so worried about being Shaq a Fool, I wouldn't mess up. It was O'Neal's mother, Lucille, who was the one who ordered her son to put a stop to the feud with McGee, which the big Aristotle reiterated once again, saying, "My mother is someone who I love and respect. She told me to stop it and don't bring it up again, so I'm not going to talk about it ever again. His name will not come out of my mouth again." Charles Barkley stood up for his TMT comrades, saying how he, Shaq, and Ernie and Kenny are just trying to have fun on television, and that it's never to be personal and make fun of other players. So basically, this is very weird. This whole scenario is weird. So basically, JaVale McGee, we all know him as JaVale McGee, as Shaq calls him, on Shaq a Fool, because of how many times this man messes up and does something just completely stupid and hilarious on a basketball court. And JaVale McGee, he's tired of Shaq making fun of him, apparently, on his show, Shaq a Fool, which, as basketball fans, we know involves Shaq showcasing players failing and just laughing at them and making fun of them. McGee is a legend on the show because he screws up just so many times. This man is always on Shaq a Fool. There can't be a Shaq a Fool season without a JaVale McGee fail.
What is it? JaVale McGee.
He's back.
His first ever mistake with the Wizards. Oh, this is not a mistake. Do something with it.
He tried to jump from the free throw line, cuff it.
Oh,
he tried to cuff it in the middle of the game.
Number 2, JaVale McGee throws a dunk to himself off the backboard. Coach doesn't like it because they're down 6. Okay. What are you doing, man? Come on, you can't do that. We're down 6. Number 1. Watch JaVale McGee this whole play.
Oh my God.
Watch this. And I asked the question, where the hell are you going?
You're an idiot.
Where the hell are you going?
You're serious that he run back on defense when you still have the ball?
What are you doing?
Oh,
wait, you're not back in the play. Hustle back.
In there. Well, he's had enough now. Where he now he went after Shaq on Twitter. He went to Shaq. He started, talking shit to Shaq. And Shaq, being the guy that he is, wasn't going to take shit from JaVale McGee. So he started responding back and it became this whole sort of beef. So which even involved the Golden State Warriors and Turner Sports, which owns TNT. So it had all those legal beef until finally the mothers of both players got involved. Now, JaVale's mom, Pamela, I think was her name, was really upset that Shaq was doing something with cyberbullying her son, which I don't know where that came from. But it was actually Shaq's mom who put a stop to this, and she told Shaq to just don't talk about the guy again and just, mind your own business. Now, in my own opinion, I think this was none of Shaq's fault. I think Shaq shouldn't have been blamed for any of this. I don't think he should. He's not at fault at all. There's nothing that he did that was wrong here. Now, you see, the way I see it, the show is called Shaq a Fool. So, which means that if you act like a fool on a basketball court, you are going to be on that show. Regardless. That's happened to everybody. You do something stupid, you're on the show. And for JaVale McGee, the thing I'm not understanding is that you do the stupid shit on the court. You miss alley-oops. You fumble with the ball on a dribble. You hit your free throw and you're about to inbound for the other team. You do the stupidest things on the basketball court and you expect that you're not going to be on the Shaq a Fool. Shaq is doing his job. His job is to view the NBA, find NBA players failing, or doing something funny and put it on his show. That's what he's doing. And if JaVale McGee is always on that show, it's his fault. It's his own doing. Like, I watched Shaq's his video when he actually stated that he's no longer going to say JaVale's name anymore. But one thing he said that really caught my attention was when he was talking about Otto Porter. Now, last year, Otto Porter he won the Shaq in the 4 MVP. Because of the whole that whole defensive lapse that he had where he let a guy run around. It was the funniest clip ever. But what he said was, look at Otto Porter. Otto Porter was a Shaq in the 4 MVP, but what did he do? He got better. He didn't make the mistake again. He knew, okay, I messed up once. I'm not gonna do it again. I'm gonna get myself better. I'm never gonna be a Shaq in the 4 again. It's like now he's one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. He's a great role player for the Washington Wizards. This is exactly what Shaq is trying to tell the JaVale. Bro, if you don't want to be on the show, if you don't want to be made fun of or laughed at, then don't mess up. Don't do stupid shit. Like, I don't know why JaVale started this beef. He does this to himself. You did this to yourself. The whole Shaq in the 4 drama only came because you did it. If you don't do the stupid stuff, you don't miss alley-oops, if you don't fumble with the ball and inbound for the other team, if you don't do stuff like that, Shaq will make fun of you. And Shaq, he doesn't laugh at players to make fun of them and ruin their career. He does it because they are legitimately funny clips and they're just to have fun. Like, as Charles Barkley said, it's just to have fun. Like, I don't see where anything's wrong here. There's nothing wrong. Shaq didn't do anything wrong. I think this is all JaVale's fault. JaVale is the one who's at fault here because, first of all, he doesn't know how to make himself better. He's continuing to do this shit. But second of all, he's blaming Shaq for constantly targeting him. It's not Shaq who's targeting him. You're putting a big target on yourself, and you're expecting Shaq to not, hit that target? Because you're doing it to yourself. It's one of those things where a player just feels like, oh, I can say what I want. Maybe I can get the sympathy of the media. You're not getting any sympathy, JaVale. If you keep on being a Shaq in a 4, and if you're so concerned about being a Shaq in a 4, don't mess up. Don't do stupid shit. And play the game properly. Like, it's just so simple. This created a huge drama. It became bigger. It blew out of proportion than what it really should have been. And if you really wanted to talk to Shaq about limiting this, why didn't you just go up to Shaq personally? Like, Shaq is one of those guys that would be like, he's a nice guy. Like, I don't understand that. Why couldn't you just do something smart instead of writing it on Twitter and getting this whole sort of publicity on this and just making it a bad look for everybody involved? But overall, man, I just feel that this was not Shaq's fault. I feel this was all the doing of JaVale McGee, and I think JaVale needs to realize that if he ever wants to be respected, he needs to improve himself. He needs to get himself better, and he needs to stop doing stupid shit on the court. It's quite simple, man. And finally, the last story for this week. It's a very short episode, I think. I'll see the timing when we see it. Actually, what are we at right now? Yeah, it's pretty short. The Washington Wizards have made it official, signing free agent point guard Brandon Jennings after he cleared waivers on Wednesday. As expected, the Wizards waived guard Daniel House to make room for Jennings. The 27-year-old, who was waived by the New York Knicks 2 days ago, will be available at the earliest for Friday night's game against the Toronto Raptors, which the Wizards lost. The Raptors won for the remainder of the season. In 58 games, the Knicks, Jennings averaged 8.6 points and 4.9 assists while shooting 38% from the field. Now, this is kind of quick. This is just like a random story I found that I really thought was interesting. But one of the things the Wizards wanted to do is improve their bench. And they needed some scoring off their bench. And I think Brandon Jennings is a solid pickup. I think he's a good option because he can do that. He can score. He can run a team. He can run an offense. And I think having him off the bench is great for not only him because he can go up against weaker point guards. But I think it's greater for his overall the overall impact of the game for the Wizards, as they can now just throw him in, get instant offense, get some quality plays running with Brandon Jennings, because he's a veteran and he knows how to play the game. So I think this is a great addition for the Wizards. I think this is exactly what they need to make a big push in the playoffs, which are coming very soon, and the Wizards are doing very well right now. But yeah, that's all I can really say about Brandon Jennings, man. I'm just happy that he's found a team, and I'm happy that he can be in the playoffs this year, man. Because I don't think he's been in the playoffs for a while. Maybe he was last year, I don't know. But yeah, but I'm happy with Brandon Jennings, and I hope he does well in Washington. But that was it for the podcast, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it was a short episode. It wasn't really very uplifting episode. It was really about me just complaining about stuff and talking about the Cavs and the Warriors. But who else am I going to talk about, you know? But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this episode, leave the episode a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Hit the subscribe button right here. You can want to check out some of my other videos. You got the previous video from right here, the last episode, which was episode 14, which was all about the trade deadline. The trade deadline special. So if you guys want to watch that, definitely check that out. Or if you want to see the previous episode when I was talking about the Serge Ibaka trade and some of the also possible trades as well. So you can check that out if you want to as well. Follow me on social media. My Twitter and Facebook are up here. You guys know what to do for the latest updates. And as always, guys, I'm Hani from NBA Talk, and I'll see you all in the next episode of the NBA Talk podcast. Thank you so much for watching.